guys, it's Amy at Zoe Beck, and I'm going to do a tag today. I'm kind of behind on my tags, so I have like 4 of them you're going to see in the next couple weeks, because I was tagged in quite a few tags, and I just haven't got to them. So we're going to start with the oldest one that was tagged in. I was tagged in Choose the Year book tag. This was created by Mel and Mel's Bookland Adventures, and I was tagged by Lindsay at Lindsay Reads, so both of their videos will be down below, as well as the questions. And I'm gonna do the year 2000. Now I decided to pick this year because it was the year before I moved from Oregon to California. That was a while ago, and you know, of course I've moved back since then. But at the time, that was the last year I lived in Oregon for the full year until I came back. Okay, I'm rambling. Anyway, point is, 2000 is also the year I was working at Walden Books part-time. So I picked up a lot of books during that year. And I kind of wanted to see if books that I picked up I'd read or, you know, or hadn't. And I actually did fairly well. I looked at the top 100 most highly rated books, or I think the best books of the year. I'll have the link down below that Mel found that has at Goodreads, where you can pull up the best books of the year. I pulled up 2000 and I went through them, and 18 of the 100 I had read, which I thought was pretty good, because it goes on farther than that, but I stopped at 100. And then I have 11 that I kind of want to read, or I have attempted, so I want to talk about those, and then the other questions to this. So we're going to start with why. So again, as I said, I picked 2000 because I wanted to see if I was picking up stuff I bought while I was working at Walden Books. So I picked up quite a few books on that year, and I read quite a few of them. The question number 2 is, which books were published in that year that you've read? So, let's see if I can make this work, you guys. I did try to practice this beforehand, but you know, I still can't get that bar to go away sometimes. So we'll start, with the books I read. So, at the first book of the year is, of course, Dan Brown's, I can't get that thing. I had it figured out. There we go. Dan Brown's Angels and Demons. So I read that book. I mean, it was fine. It actually is my favorite Dan Brown book. I read 4 of his books, and then I haven't read anymore. But that was my favorite one. That's my favorite one. That was number 1. Oops, I went to the wrong section. But this is going to be interesting. I'm going to be messing this up all right and left. Number 2 was Harry Potter. Number 4, Goblet of Fire. So of course I read that and enjoyed that. Oh, I'm not doing this fast enough. The next one is Stormfront by Jim Butcher. This is the first book in the Harry Dresden files. This is a series I've read the first 2 and never continued. I own like 7 of them. I don't know what it is about his series. I really enjoyed the first 2 books. I'm not sure. I did listen to them on audio later and really enjoyed them, and I just never continued. I don't know why. Anyway, series I need to get back to is one of my series lists I need to attempt. That was number 8 for the year. And then Stephen King's On Writing was number 10, and this is actually a book I got from Walden's, I know for sure, because I got an ARC copy of this, and I was excited. It was like it was only a couple times I got ARCs. At where we worked, we had them, but they were always books I didn't want. But this was a book I wanted, and I snagged this, and I still have this book today. It's pretty awesome. And that was number 10. Number 11 on the list is House of Leaves by Mark Z. Danielowski. One of my favorite books of all time. I just adore this book. It's just so weird and quirky, and if you want some weird reading experience, this is the book. And I reread it earlier. Was it this year or last year? It must have been last year. It must have been last year. God, it felt like it was just a little bit ago. I don't know, but I love it. I love it, and I reread it for the first time. I bought this in 2000, and then I read it then. This is one of the only ones I remember that I read. That and the On Writing were both read in 2000. Most of these were read later. But those 2 for sure on my list. that I read. And again, I recommend this. It's kind of horror / weird fiction. I love this book. It's hard to explain, but I love it. But that was number 11 on the list. Number 14 on the list is Kitchen Confidential by Anthony Bourdain, and I read this last year for Nonfiction November. It was a really good memoir of the restaurant business. The Blind Assassin by Margaret Atwood. I have a love-hate relationship with Margaret Atwood, which is why I don't read her books anymore. This one is actually the one I liked of the books that I read. And I still think about the twist in this. And I think it's a really great book and it was really well done. But it bored me silly in certain parts too. So there's good and bad things to this book. But I loved it. I loved it enough that I still remember it and I still think about it. A lot more than I do The Handmaid's Tale, but for some reason this book clicked for me for most part. But anyway, it's not a favorite book though. It's one of those ones you just remember that you read. And that was number 16 on the list. So Persepolis is number 20. I read both this one and the second part for Nonfiction November, I think year before last. So not year 2000. I didn't know about it. Then I read a couple of a series of Unfortunate Events by Lemony Snicket. I did 3, and I also read 4 for sure. I can't remember if I read past 4 because my friend really had these early 2000s. I read his copies, and I read up to, I know I read 4. I don't remember if I read 5 or past that. 5 was actually on the list too. Again, these were 24 and 25, but I never continued or finished the series because I wasn't finished at the time. But you know, I've never read more of it. What is it? Oh, Perdido Street Station by China Melville. It's my first one that I read by him. I mean, I read it many years past the 2000, but I did have it on my shelf for quite a long time before I read it, and that comes out at number 40 on the list. But I love this book. I've read this at least twice. I really want to continue the series because the Baslaw, or yeah, I think that's the series. I don't know. I have the Scar and is it the Iron Council, the third one? I don't remember, but I do need to get back. I just don't know if I need to reread this the third time before I read those. I don't know. Let me know if I need to do that. And then I've also read The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. This was number 56 on the list, the graphic novel. I really enjoyed that. I mean, I like the movie too because it's campy, but oh, not everybody will like that. And then Terry Pratchett, The Truth. This is in the Discworld series. And now I don't remember what number it was. I don't remember. But I did read, because I went through a phase a couple of years after 2000 where I read like almost all of his books. I'm short like 4 books from the end of the series. I just don't want to end. I haven't read the Tiffany Aching one's books either, but I still got some Terry Pratchett to read. But that was 63 on the list. And then there's Bookends by Jane Green. I went through a phase of contemporary women's fiction, or just fiction, whatever. And I read that a lot. I don't remember it, but I read it. That was number 75. Number 77 is Big Stone Gap by Adriana Trigani. And I read this for a book club, and I vaguely remember it. I don't know. It didn't have a big impact on me, but, you know. And then After the Quake by Haruki Murakami. Again, I've read a lot of Murakami. I've not read everything yet. I got some really big ones I haven't hit yet. But this one I read, and I don't remember it. So this is now entered onto my reread list. Because, especially after I just read one of his other books. So I will have to reread that. There's 6 short stories in that, and that has to do with the quake. And is it Kobe? I don't know, right? But it was like after that, and I don't remember. I know I read it, can't remember anything about it. So, and then Tears of the Giraffe, which is book 2 of the #1 Ladies Detective Agency. And so I read about 5 or 6 of these at some point, and then I just stopped. You just get tired sometime. And then and that was, sorry, was that 82? Did I tell you that? Yeah. And then at number 100, oops, no, I'm not gonna do that. Not gonna work. Is Welcome to Temptation by Jennifer Cruzy. I did read this. I don't remember anything about it. But it's another fiction, contemporary fiction book that I read at some point. So, of the 100, so as I said, I read 18 books. I think that's a pretty good number. So, God, I'm just going off here, aren't I? Then are there any books that sound interesting to you that you would like to read now? So, so something that came out was The Amber Spyglass by Philip Pullman. I have never read The Subtle Knife and The Amber Spyglass. So in the Dark Materials, his Dark Materials series, I read The Golden Compass right around when the movie came out. Because I'm old, so I missed these. I actually more remember his, oh, what is her name? Sally something or other. The books with The Ruby and the Smoke and Shadow of the North. And then that series is what I remember reading, but I did not read his Dark Materials. So that's a series I would like to read. Oh, what number was that? Hold on. That was number 12. I did try to attempt to read The Adventures of Clavier and Clay by Michael Chabon, and I did not get along with it. So I haven't actually got along with any of his books that I've tried. I just gave up. So that was number 15, but on the list, but won't try that again. I do have a copy of The Duke and I by Julia Quinn. I don't know if this is the Bridgerton series, but this is a book that I bought because I saw it here on BookTube that I wanted to try that, and that was, yeah, number 31 on the list. Number 32 was In a Sunburnt Country by Bill Bryson. I want to read some of his nonfiction stuff. I mean, most of his stuff is nonfiction, but I have that and A Walk in the Woods. But this is one I want to read because I've been to Australia. It'd be fun to kind of read what he wrote about it. So, I have The Red Breast by Joe Nesbo on my Kindle, and it was one of my first Kindle books that I bought. But I hated the bat so much. So I don't know if I'm going to read this. I still have it on my Kindle, but so I put it on here because maybe I should read it because I already paid for it. You know, and that was number 34 on the list. 50. Ooh, wait, where's my... Oh, here's 53 on the list is The Founding Brothers. Yeah, that's right. So it's about, the Hamilton, Burr, Jefferson, Washington, all those. And it's a nonfiction book. I bought it at a library book sale. I have it on my shelf, so I didn't know what year that came out. That's pretty cool. Then this one, I don't know if I've ever heard anything about this. So I don't know anything about it, but it just looks interesting. Oops, and I hit the wrong button. Is Balzac and the Little Chinese Seamstress, and by, I don't know how to say that name, Dal Sidi. Anyway, I know it has something to do with reading and something. I don't know. Anybody read this? It looks good. I don't know. I've never heard of that one. Anyway, sorry. And then I have Revelation Space by Alistair Reynolds on my shelf somewhere. It's sci-fi. I've not picked up any of his books before, but I got that used. I also, that was 64. 66 is Dead House Gates by Stephen Erickson. This is number 2 in the Malazar Book of the Fallen series. I've never made it through this book. I've tried to read this twice, and I've gotten really far. Like, I would say like a third to a half of this book. And again, it's like 600 or 800 pages, maybe longer than that. And I have never made it through. One more time. I'm going to give it one more time, but I need to do that. I really want to read the rest of that series. The Curse of, where is it? Callion by Lois McMaster Bourgeois. I can't say her last name. Sorry, guys. So this was number 80, I think, on the list. I went and saw her when I went to San Francisco with one of my friends at one point, and we met her, and I bought that book, and I haven't read it yet because she was it was one of the farther books in the series. It's a fantasy series, this one. I've read some of her science fiction, but I have not read her fantasy. And then the last one on the list that I want to read is Burchellie's Dome by Ross King, which is talking about the architecture of that dome. How the Renaissance genius reinvented architecture. And I do have this book. I bought it this year. So it's one I want to read. And that was number 93 on the list. So, okay, I'm going so long on this. This is ridiculous. I'm not good at this, guys. Number 4 is most obscure sounding book. This is the most obscure sounding to me. I'm pretty sure it's a YA. Oh, I'm not gonna. But it's On the Bright Side. I'm now the girlfriend of a sex god. Further Confessions of Georgia Nicholson by Lois Renison. Renison? I don't know. Anyway, it was pretty obscure to me. I have no idea what that is. To me, it's just, and it was a number 72, so I'm like, I don't know what that is. Anyway, maybe that's not what they mean by obscure. But anyway, so then number 4 or number 5 is The Strangest book cover. So I'm going to show you one that I looked up. The cover looked weird, or it's intriguing. But then I went and looked, and there's like 4 different copies of the I'm not gonna do it. So this one is The Feast of the Goat by Mario Vargas Llosa. I don't know. So I don't know, but it has a burning car on it. Okay. And then the next one was like with a goat thing. Well, Feast of the Goat, you know, I don't know. And then there's this one where there's a guy in the background, but it's jungly. I don't know. And then there's this one. I don't know. It just had a lot of weird covers. That very different from all the different years, I guess. And I guess that's a Nobel Prize winner. Oh, I didn't know that. I'll have to look more into that one. Anyway, so that is my attempt at this tag. I was really bad at this. And this tag is, you know, a couple of months old. So if you haven't done it and you want to do it, please do it. Pick a year that you want to look at the books that you've read or haven't read or want to read. I think it was really fun. I spent a lot of time, obviously, since this video is really long, going through the whole top 100 and finding out what books I'd actually read and which ones I wanted to read or, you know, are interested in. So anyway, I rambled way too long for a tag. That was way too long. But anyway, I will talk to you guys later. Bye.